greatest digital asset ever created. I'm so glad I accumulated before the space got saturated. XRP the greatest digital asset ever created. Make the haters aggravated, get the spaceship activated. XRP the greatest digital asset ever created. I'm so glad I accumulated.
What's goody everybody? Welcome back to the channel where you get your XRP and your crypto news. So I just wanted to get right into it. You know what I mean? I don't waste no time. You know how this thing go. Everything has been going to shit. So I wanted to speak about this. I wanted to speak about the stock market a little bit. I wanted to speak about what's the obvious, and obviously the crypto market is dropped down and got its eagle on. You know, it's not nothing unusual what's going on. We've all seen that the tariffs and things like that has been going on. So I'm gonna talk about that today and explain a little bit more in depth. All right, so Bitcoin right now is at $79,000, as you guys can see. XRP is at $1.92. So it's been, you know, it's definitely dropping down. Like ADA is at 58 cents from its all-time high. XLM is at 23 cents right now. So everything is in the red, right? Everything is on the red. This is a great opportunity to buy if you're still, you know, have some cash that's, you know, sitting in the side. But I wanted to get more into the tariffs, right? And getting more, you know, explain with everything and what's going on. This is something I definitely suggest you go research as well. I'll leave the link in the description below. And he's going to speak a little bit more about the tariffs. And I thought, you know, this was a great thing to show. And I'm not a gatekeeper. So these are some people that I also look at and research myself and do my own due diligence on. So I don't want you guys to just listen to me or listen to other people on crypto space and, you know, YouTubers. Definitely do your own research on this tariff situation and have your own opinion on everything. So I'm just listening up really quick on this global reset that he's talking about, and I briefly listen to the video about the tariffs.
And to be fair, the critics have a really strong argument against how these tariffs were created. So let me explain. The administration told us that these tariffs were reciprocal, meaning they mirrored what other countries charged the U.S. for imports. Whatever they charge us, we charge them the same.
Reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal. That means they do it to us and we do it to them.
They also claimed the tariffs were then cut by half because we're nice. But that's not true. These tariffs are actually a lot higher than what other countries charge the U.S. For example, China's average tariff on U.S. goods isn't 67%. It's closer to between 6 to 10%. Vietnam faces 46%, but its tariffs on U.S. goods are much lower. Tariffs on Australia are now 10%, but Australian tariffs on U.S. goods is 0. They are not reciprocal. In fact, if you look at the world average before these tariffs, the U.S. charged the world about 2.5%, and the world charged the U.S. about 5 to 10%. So yes, it was unfair to the U.S., but these new tariffs are between 10 to 50%, which dwarf those rates.
All right, so I'm not going to play the whole thing. It's about a good 17 minutes, guys. I'll drop the link in the description if you want to look at more. But I just basically letting you guys know about the tariffs and, you know, more explanation on what's going on, right? So there are a lot of people who love Trump and there's a lot of people who hate Trump. And listen, whatever your opinion is, I really don't care. Keep it to yourself. But the things that Trump is doing, you know, hey, some will love it, some will hate it, but this is a business move. He's obviously a businessman. People knew that when they voted for him, and some of them, you know, dislike him now that they have put him in office. And it's very the opposite of a lot of our presidents because they're very political. He is a business guy. So this is breaking, you know, says the president declares the market, including American crypto, XRP, is set to explode. Just listen up to this really quick.
Very well. I think it's going very well. It was an operation like when a patient gets operated on, and it's a big thing. I said this would exactly be the way it is. We have $6 or $7 trillion coming into our country. and we've never seen anything like it. The markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom, and the rest of the world wants to see, is there any way they can make a deal? They've taken advantage of us for many, many years. For many years, we've been at the wrong side of the ball, and I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be unbelievable. The thing that people have to talk about, we're up almost to $7 trillion of investment coming into our country, and you'll see how it's going to turn out. Our country's going to boom.
All right, so he's pretty much mentioning that our country is going to boom. Some people can't see it at this current moment, obviously, because we are in a big, massive dump right now, and you know, there's not a lot of money in our pockets. There's a lot of debt that's outside of this $36 trillion on, you know, the U.S. debt that we also have. So he obviously putting tariffs on China, you know, all these different countries that he's already reported. I'm not gonna get all into that, but you know, you guys let me know your opinion below. You guys let me know what your thoughts are on this particular market, because I honestly think this is something that can help the middle class, because of the simple fact that, you know, the market has a big, I mean, it's just like explosion right there, smacking our face. The whole entire market just flipped. So this is, did Mark not get the memo of XRP being declared by a judge that XRP is not a security? Listen up to this really quick.
And do you think that also encompasses crypto? So if somebody were to decide that they were going to sell out of Ethereum or Bitcoin or of you know, XRP or something else, would that come under your jurisdiction?
Well, I know my predecessor, Chairman Gensler, made it pretty clear that Ethereum and Bitcoin are not securities that fall within our purview. So if it involved either of those two, it would not be insider trading because it does not involve the purchasers.
What about an ETF of that?
So an ETF would be a security, and then one would have to, again, go through and take a look at whether or not they've satisfied the various elements that we need to do to bring an insider trade.
So it's just baffling to me how people still have the delusion of XRP was declared not a security from the judge. No one said no one said Ethereum and Bitcoin was not a security. I don't know where he got that from. I don't know. It's just baffling to me how people try to blatantly ignore the facts and say something totally different on the news. All right, so pretty much I wanted to get into this really quick. I'm not trying to make this video too long, but make sure you guys like, subscribe to the channel, because I am trying to get at least 5,000 more watch hours, and I need your help to do so. All right, so pretty much this is speaking about DeFi sector and how it's valued at 50 billion, with Ripple predicting it could be skyrocket anywhere between 30 trillion and 50 trillion by 2026. Listen to this.
Well, we saw Bitcoin and others as speculative.
Let me widen the screen here.
I was moderating a panel with some of the key figures in the business and central banking world around digital currencies. Of course, you can't talk about this topic without Bitcoin coming up as well. Now, what was one of the most significant things that came out of that panel appeared to be a change in tone towards cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin from the PBOC. Now, just to set the context here, in 2017 and 2018, China cracked down hard on the cryptocurrency industry. It started to ban exchanges, banning initial coin offerings as well. It saw Bitcoin and others as speculative assets, and potentially something that could destabilize the financial system as well. Fast forward now to 2021, that thinking appears to be progressing. On the panel was Lee Bohr, the deputy governor of the PBOC, and I asked him whether the PBOC is considering changing some of the regulation around Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Let's listen in to what he had to say.
The main role we see for crypto assets going forward, their main role is investment alternative. And as investment alternative, I think many countries, including China, are still looking into it and thinking about what kind of regulatory requirements, maybe minimal, but we need to have some kind of regulatory requirement to prevent speculative nature.
So right now, the current tough regulation will stand, but listen to the language. Lee Ball, they're calling Bitcoin and other stable coins alternative investments. This really is what appears to be the change in tone and language. They're looking at ways to regulate that. No concrete measures yet, but this is certainly an area the crypto markets will be looking on very closely, given the fact that China could potentially become once again a key buying market if regulations were to change. Tanvir, back to
all right, so I wanted to keep going a little bit with some more information on this tariffs as well, and then how Trump is trying to, push the market to where it is. Obviously, we are all on debt. I wanted you guys to listen to this video where he pretty much is saying, ignore the noise. Listen to this particular, video, and it is going to have a toll on us right now because we obviously are going off of debt. There's not a lot of money in the market, and everything in the market is debt, not income. You understand what I'm saying? So right now, everybody is in a panic. It's in the uproar. The stock market is crashing. The housing market, interest rates are going parabolic. So this particular upset that Trump has done with these tariffs is also helping the middle class and bringing Jerome Powell to be able to decrease the interest rate for the housing market, for people to start being able to now, buy groceries, people to have money in their pocket, for people to start being able to at least have more income. If I'm not mistaken, I seen something on Mississippi is taking away the income taxes for their particular state. I'll look at that more next video, but listen to this. And you guys let me know your opinion after you watch it, because it's getting real out here.
I'm not happy with what's going on in the market today, but the distribution of equities across households, the top 10% of Americans own 88% of equities, 88% of the stock market. The next 40% owns 12% of the stock market. The bottom 50 has debt. They have credit card bills. They rent their homes. They have auto loans, and we've got to give them some relief. That I was struck by the statistic from last year.
That's the message right there. Just as a bystander, I'm like, wow, okay.
All right. Or that I like the examples, and I was really struck by two different statistics last year. Summer of 2024, Americans took more European vacations than they had in history. Summer of 2024, more Americans were using food banks than they ever have in history. I went into two food banks near my hometown to ask, what's the story? And they said, it really takes, for a lot of people, it's a loss of dignity to walk in a food bank. Of course. But they were seeing a new phenomenon, that it wasn't their traditional clientele. It wasn't people who'd lost their homes. It wasn't people out on the street. These were working families who could no longer, $100 at the grocery store, that basket of groceries every week, they were missing 5, 6, 7 things, and they were coming to the food bank to top up. So that's not a great America. Record European vacation, record food banks. And no reason we can't keep the record European vacations going, but we got to take care of these other people. And you know what? That they don't want handouts. The Democrats had this strategy called compensate the loser. So first of all, the name of that strategy, I don't think the bottom 50% of Americans are losers. I think the system hasn't worked for them. I think that they are winners. It's just a bad system. So we are going to fix the system. And look, they want good jobs. They want their kids to do better than they do. They want to own a home. They want to pay down their debt. That this isn't hard. And I think that we can do this in the next 4 years. Would it have been really fun for me to come in and just keep issuing a lot of debt? And it's almost like a bodybuilder is taking steroids. Outside looks great. You're muscular. Inside, you're killing your vital organs. Yeah. That's what was going on here. But it would have been easy to keep pumping up the economy, borrowing a lot of money, creating a lot of government jobs. There was no controversy when we're doing all that, but you were going to end up in a calamity if you go back and look. You look at the financial crisis in 07, 08. Economy looked great right up until then. You go back and you look at the end of the dot-com bubble and then the whole credit problem with the fraud at WorldCom, Enron, some other companies. Economy looked great until it didn't. And I think one of the things that we won't get credit for, but that this administration will have done, is avoiding a financial calamity. All
right, guys. Make sure you guys like, subscribe to the channel. I'm out. Peace.